morning, Cedar Park High School, and welcome to the Wolfcast. I'm Heather Gossi.
And I'm JP Reuter. It's Friday, March 31st, and it's an A Day. It's been a tough week and year for many here at CPHS after the passing of one of our own, and students are reacting with mixed emotions.
We're being joined now with CPHS News reporter Jessica Mick alongside Principal John Sloan and lead counselor Christina Hollander to talk about resources available for students.
Thanks, JP and Heather. And welcome to the show, Mr. Sloan and Mrs. Hollander.
Thanks, Jessica.
Yeah. So this has been a very rough year for Cedar Park High School. So what would you say to students who may be struggling right now?
Yeah, we've gone through some difficult things this year as a school. And what I'd like to say to our students is just to know that we're in it together and that they're not alone if they're struggling and having a hard time. Just know that we're all in it together and we're there with you and here for you. And we have supports in place. We have our counseling staff is amazing and they're there to support students. But just know that we know that a lot of you are struggling in dealing with this, and it's been a difficult time, but know that we're aware of that and we're here and want to support you in any way we can. But also know that it's not just students, it's staff. We know that our staff is struggling and grieving as well, and we're all in it together.
And a lot of times when things happen based on experiences that we've had in life, everyone's affected differently. And
Right.
everyone's affected at different times. Sometimes it doesn't set on right away. And so we have, with recent events, we've had, grief counselors on campus, and maybe students were okay those days. But then it hits later on. Maybe something happens that just brings up a memory, and then all of a sudden it hits. But to know that we're still going to be there. We're not going away. There are the 5 of us down in the counseling office, the APs, the teachers, that want to be here to support students. And we're burdened by the losses too, and burdened with the need to be able to provide for our students, and be able to do what's best for them, to help them to be able to cope with the current situation, to have good tools moving forward, to know where to go for help, and to know that help works. But we don't know if you need it unless you tell us. So reaching out to somebody so that we know, so that we can be there and be that support.
Right. I think you both kind of touched on this lightly, but what kind of support is there for us as students?
So within our system, first and foremost would be talking to parents. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to parents, talking to a teacher, talking to a friend's parent, talking to a coach, talking to a counselor. It's important to talk to friends, but a lot of times our friends don't know what to say. And then they feel burdened with the fact that they've said the wrong thing. And to know that if we do go to a friend and they say the wrong thing, they're trying. And sometimes the right thing for them to say is, we're going to go talk to someone who can help you with this. And I think that a lot of times students are challenged with that. They feel like, it was mentioned at the Amari outreach thing that we had last week. A student asked, how do I get my friend help without ratting them out? We're not ratting anybody out. Going to an adult who has a little bit more knowledge or expertise in an area is the best thing that we can do for someone. And so whether you tell your friend, I'm going to go talk to somebody, or you just go talk and let one of the counselors know, it's important to find those supports. So first and foremost, those people. And then beyond that, we have within our school district, we have a social worker that comes and does therapy twice a week. She's here Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so we can refer to her. She is phenomenal. And we also have the chemical abuse prevention program. So we have chemical abuse counselor that comes to campus as well. She does a great job with students. And then outside of that, we have outside resources. There are outside support groups. There are outside private therapists and psychiatrists and psychologists. And we can help families look for those. We can start with our district person that we have, and then we can refer out from there. So there are lots of things available to students. And even like today, there's a managing stress den. So just paying attention to those types of options And then we have our coloring den on Wednesdays just to come and listen to spa music and color and unwind a little bit, and turn off our cell phones and just unplug for a little while. So I feel like there's a lot available to students.
I'd like to jump in on that.
Yeah,
So as you talked about, it's really important to talk and to talk through things. You have students have a great support network among their friends and their peers, and it's important that our students talk amongst each other and work through some of the things, and you can relate to each other, and you know some of the struggles you're going through and different stresses that you're managing. But sometimes it gets to a point where that's not where someone needs more help, where we know the situation is a little more serious. And as a student, as a friend, you might not know for sure when that point is, but if you ever have doubt, if you're not sure, if you think maybe this is more serious than something that just a conversation or just talking about the issues is not going to make go away, and you'll get a sense for that. You kind of know when your friends or peers are in a bad place. And so it's important that you stay in tune with that and you recognize that, hey, this is not going away, or it's not just a today thing, it's been an all week thing, or it's been something that they can't seem to pull themselves out of. When you have those doubts, that's when it's important to get a professional involved. It's important to get somebody involved who can help, who can provide that help that is beyond a simple conversation, because sometimes it's a bigger issue that requires somebody who is trained and understands depression and different things. So we have ways to do that. If you talk to any staff member on this campus, they're going to make sure that student is seen and talked to by a professional. If you have concerns about a friend, you're not always going to get your friend to go talk to a counselor. And if you're not comfortable going and talking to somebody or talking to a counselor or talking to a staff member, you can do an anonymous alert. And that's on our website. There's a link through for anonymous alerts. You can click on that. It'll go to the appropriate staff. It'll go to counseling staff, and somebody will talk to that student that you're worried about. Even if it turns out to be nothing, great. But if it's something potentially serious, then maybe you've done something that's going to help somebody get out of that place.
Right. So with all that, what advice would you give to the students now?
Talk to someone. I think that's the biggest piece is we've got to communicate, and we have to recognize when things are different. We have to recognize when a student is kind of following a certain path and then all of a sudden there are changes. Those should be triggers that we might need to have someone talk to them. And all of the counselors are fantastic. We're all available to meet with students at any time. Even if that student's counselor is not available, we're there. And we want to be able to provide that support. But once again, if we don't know, it's hard for us. We have to, because we're not in the classroom, we're not with y'all all the time. But just paying attention to those things and noticing when you're seeing changes in people. And like Mr. Sloan said, even if it's nothing, at least you've shown that you care, and you have started that conversation, and then we can take it from there. And if it is nothing, great. I love for it to be nothing. But if it's not, we've got the resources to be able to point students and families in the right direction.
All right.
And we have, the students at Cedar Park High School are some of the most respectful, nicest. They treat each other well in general. We treat each other well here at Cedar Park High School. Continue to do that. I would say continue to do that. Don't walk around in fear, but be there and be a friend and try to stay tuned in. As Ms. Hollander pointed out earlier, and I talked to some students, some of our students earlier this week, and they said, gosh, everybody walks around with their phones and looking at the screen, and try to put that down and be there and be present with the people around you and be really tuned in to what's going on. Communication is great. Sometimes it is texting or media, but that's not the best way. The best way is that face-to-face and really get to understand and know what each other are dealing with and being there for each other.
So Last question, is there anything planned moving forward to help students from here on out?
So on an ongoing basis, like I said, we're available, and we're continuing things like having special dins and meetings and things like that. And the district is actually working right now, because this isn't a Cedar Park problem, a Cedar Park High School problem. This is a community issue. And so as a district, we want to be able to provide something consistently from K through 12. And make sure that we are hitting specific points with students and continuing that conversation. And so the district is working right now through various entities to come up with what's going to be best for students. And so they're hoping to get something out to families within the next day or so with a plan moving forward. And so as soon as we have that information, we will definitely share it.
And we've done some things in the fall. We had a community forum, and that's one of the things we're considering. Do we want to try that again and get a larger net and get more folks out to that? And continuing with some of the things that we're doing in school and expanding some of that.
All right. Do either of you have anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. Just keep talking to each other.
And stay positive, and again, not walking around in fear, and just be there for each other. And we know there are some of you that are hurting, and we're feeling it too. So we're here for you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sloan. Thanks, Ms. Hollander. And we're just glad we could have you on the show today. All right. Back to you, Heather and JP.
Thanks, Jessica. You can find a full list of resources on the Wolfpack website.
And we'll be tweeting out more information on our Twitter at CPHS News. That's all we have for today with CPHS News. I'm Heather Gossi.
And I'm JP Reuter.
Thanks for watching.